the 6-game main slate for Wednesday. It's a it's a small slate, but it's got some interesting decisions to be made. Sort of a little bit like this morning, but with more options. I feel with maybe, I don't know if more options is the right way to put it, but there's definitely options. Any overall thought sheets, or do you want to jump into game by game here?
We could jump into it, but I already see there's 3 yellow-orange games.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of those are on the actual slate. So Toronto, Boston is on the slate.
Yeah.
Cleveland, Baltimore is not, but Mets, Yankees, there is.
Yeah.
I will get the official Sheets.
We need the Mrs. Sheets weather report.
Mrs. Sheets weather forecast. Yeah, we'll be getting that soon.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Well, let's pull up your screen and we'll go through the game by game here and decide what we want to do, because it's a similarly struggled pitching slate.
The pitching is a disaster.
It's really rough. So we start out with Boston and Toronto. Go ahead, Sheets.
Yeah. So Boston and Toronto, we're really struggling to find anything good pitching wise. And Crawford is one of, honestly, 12, 5, 6, 7, 10 guys I can play. Really. And it's not like and all these guys are sort of being officially owned right now. Everybody's between 10 and there's a 30 guy, whatever. But it's pretty similar. I think that eventually people are going to Twitter speak their way into some chalk. I don't know where that's going to be. But until then, I have Crawford as kind of an option. I don't know if that's where I'm going to end up prioritizing. And I'm not getting to Rodriguez. As far as the hitting goes, though, I do have Boston rated as the top value. Yeah, right now, actually both of them. I have both Boston and Toronto tied for the top value on the slate. Not just raw points, but just based on my value scores. So that's the case. I guess it's a pretty good game stack. So, but watch the weather. So we got a weather game that rates really, really well. So we just have to keep an eye on it and see what the weather holds.
Yeah, and I think that the Boston side is going to be the far more popular side. I agree with everything you said. I don't think I would get to Crawford unless you're totally clear on the weather. Unless we're literally totally clear. I don't want a potential, because what it looks like is it might be might get it in, but there could be some delays. That's just not obviously what you want for your starting pitcher. I do like the idea of the Blue Jays, though, because of the lack of ownership. Keeps going to Boston in this series, and the Blue Jays can put up some runs, as we saw yesterday. So they're going to have some ownership too. But I have the Blue Jays a little bit ahead of Boston, just factoring in what I think the ownership's going to end up at. Needless to say, guys like Rafael Devers make for an incredible one-off and probably as good a play on the slate as anyone but Ohtani or Judge. And I think this is a spot where you're probably, if the game's a go, 85 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to center, this feels like a spot you'd want to get after. So I like the Toronto side a little bit better. That's where I'm at, but I like both. All right, New York.
Right. So I don't know if the weather's going to hold or whatever. We'll get an eye on that. But in the meanwhile, I do like the Yankees as one of my top 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 stacks on the board. As far as the pitching goes, so Lewis Gill looks to be the highest projected of a bunch of just really, really bad options. Not bad, but I have a 17-point projection, which is fine. It's not great though for 10,300. Plus the weather risk, plus whatever. We'll have to keep an eye on it, but I would rather, honestly, and I have a pitcher I think is just much better than all these guys so far. But I think that there's no reason to pay 10-3, I think, for him. Now then again, I don't know where we're going to spend the money. I guess we'll figure it out when we get to the Dodger game, I suppose. But Lewis Gill projects best by a little bit. And I just don't think it's worth the 10-3. I don't know if that's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it's a little weird that the Yankees. We saw the crazy strikeouts from Peterson yesterday. What do you have? He had 8 and 4 innings. I think the Yankees struck out 1 million times yesterday. And you have Manaea, who's projecting really well. I'm in on the Yankees idea. Manaea is interesting because you can go through his game log and you're like, oh, he must have been really good. And in some sense, I guess he was. He's striking these guys out, but 5 runs, 6 runs given up and still getting there because he's just been striking a lot of guys out. Very much like the idea of the Yankees. And if there was a way to play them with my team, I think this is a good day to do it. It does look like, should the game play, that the hitting weather will be great, considering that it's, Shea, obviously not a great hitter's park. But, 84 degrees with 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left sounds pretty good for the Yankees, who should crush left. I still don't understand the Yankees' projections. The run total at being at 4.4. It's like they have no respect for the Yankees at all. And maybe deservedly so, because they didn't get to Peterson as much as we'd hoped yesterday. But still, I just feel like this is a spot where I think I would want to try and get the Yankees in if I can.
I mean, I have Sean Manaea as like a second best point per dollar play on the slate and 23% ownership. I just don't get it. So, am I being a homer? I don't know. I mean, the Yankees they score runs. They have good bats, and Manaea, is he good? I don't know.
He's been striking a lot of guys out. The weird part is with the Yankees, they're like an average strikeout versus lefties team, but they also have they crush, they have a ton of power. I don't know. It feels like an interesting spot. It's an interesting one. And maybe it's because they don't have enough at bats. The sample size is maybe still small, but I love the idea of getting to the low-owned Yankees here. And Luis Gil, I think, makes sense just from the standpoint that I feel like I don't want to say the safest, but like a guy who he's got the highest K prop. I think I trust him enough. So I do have Gil here. I'm not going to play Manaea. I understand that he looks good and he's got all the numbers look great for him, like his expected strikeouts, everything. But I think I'd rather play the Yankees here, and I think I'd lean Gil with the Yankees. But the problem is there's going to be another stack that's expensive that I like. So I probably am not going to be able to get to Gil, but I do have him of the guys we talked about so far as the best one so far. All right, Atlanta, St. Louis, which is playing. I'm just double checking. Yeah, okay. It's playing. For what it's worth, 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left before you go ahead.
And both these guys are, again, just in that just mix of awful pitching options that you just have to pick from. I have Elder and Gibson. I have them rated very similarly to Manaea, if you want to know the truth.
I think it's Liberator who's going to be pitching.
Right. Sorry.
They have the day game today, so I got kind of confused with the projection.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I had Gibson starting. That's so funny. All right. So we'll change that later. But I don't know. So I don't have a projection. Liberator, I can't really comment on that. But Elder looks pretty decent, and I guess the Braves are always in play, sort of. That's the best I could say.
Yeah, and we got free roll DFS saying that the Yankees Mets' projections are probably ballpark adjusted. I understand that, but they're usually pretty good with the weather, and when you it's better. Shea Stadium is still a better home run hitter's park than Yankee Stadium when it's 30 degrees warmer than Yankee Stadium was at the beginning of the year, and the wind's blowing out and all that stuff. So I don't know. It still feels like a low number to me. Anyway, the Elder thing, I have Elder as I think that would be a guy I feel like comfortable is a very strong word on this slate, but he's 7K. It's a reasonable enough spot to play him. You do have the wind pushing back. The Cardinals only have a 4.1 total. The Braves only have a 4.3 total, and I think Liberator, they're not letting him really pitch innings. He's almost been treated like an opener lately. So I'm kind of confused at what they're gonna do. Who else has a projection for them? Oh, Fernandez. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be a long bullpen game. Anyway, Elder is probably all I'm doing with this game. If you wanted to talk yourself into the Braves, I don't have a major issue, but I just personally am not getting there.
So free rolls, you're correct to some degree. In that all the projections are adjusted to all the other sub narratives. In other words, when you talk about this from a content provider, you as a content person, you don't want to double count. You don't want to say, Luis Gil looks really, really good, and and besides that, he's in a good park. You know what I mean? It's because he's in a good park that he looks really good, and you'd like to think that the projections, at least the good ones, do factor in ballpark adjusted stuff. Mm-hmm. I've heard it argued that they don't do it enough. Just not for laziness. It's just hard to you know what I mean? As the wind picks up during the day. Mm-hmm. I just listen, I've been grinding these projections for years now, and seeing what people adjust to and what they don't. And where you'd like to say that, if wind goes from 10 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour, the projections will increase. I hate to say this, but they just don't. So they do sometimes, but not as much as they should, I guess. And likewise, even stupid stuff. And I don't want to rant too much, but when you get a projection for a pitcher, and then or even for a stack or whatever, and there's a guy that's taken out of the game, kind of a late scratch or whatever it is, like or a lineup change or whatever, you'd have to think that it impacts everything somewhat. But I hate to say this, not the whole industry, but too many of them, they just don't even adjust it at all. That's my observation of some, but not all places.
Yeah.
Anyway, you are correct though. Free rolls, that all those things are supposed to be factored into the projections.
Yep, agreed. All right, but sometimes, like you said, like there are little things like that. Then we've got this Dodger game sheets. The Stone and Fetty. Go ahead here.
Yeah, Stone is my favorite. I mean, unless you could give me some reason why I shouldn't play him. I mean, this is we were talking about like this being a tough pitching slate, and I have a pitcher who's pretty good against the White Sox. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna put him in. That's gonna be the end of that. Fetty, the leader of the free world / prone for a fraud check, whatever. He's gonna have to beat me here, unfortunately, because I think the Dodgers are clearly the best play. So Stone Dodgers would start my lineups if you want to know the truth. If it all started right now, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, Stone, his projection is actually a little worse than I would have thought. Like I don't
understand. I mean,
4.6 strikeout projected. That seems a little weird. I too agree that Stone is the guy I want to play, and I also think that I would get some Fetty exposure if I was multi-entering here, even against, obviously I love my Dodgers, but like I still can't figure out when the Fetty, he's been really good, like consistently very, very good and not giving up much. That's what it is. He keeps the ball on the ground for the most part. Anyway, so I like Stone. I don't mind Fetty. And at the same time, I do still like the Dodgers, and I think they come in a little lower owned than they're projected to be. And I think that even whether you want to play the full stack or not, obviously Ohtani, Freeman, I think Pajes would be my next favorite if Teoscar's out. Teoscar's in. I like the Dodgers stack a lot better, but they're also a lot more expensive. So I have the Dodgers. I would like to get to the Dodgers and Yankees today as my combos, some sort of combo of that. And I think Stone is looking like he's definitely going to be one of my pitchers as of right now. All right, Minnesota and Arizona, and the roof I'm sure is closed. So I don't even know.
Throw them in there again. I mean, like these guys are in this kind of mix here, but maybe this isn't such a difficult freaking board. I mean, I'm calling BS on the Stone projection. How about that?
I like it. I think that's fair.
I'm just gonna play him, and then I got to figure out who the second guy is. Honestly, Ryan Nelson, yeah, he's showing up in some lineups. Richardson, yeah, he's showing in some lineups, but overall, these guys are not priority. Arizona, Minnesota, if you want to be off the board, you can play them, but I'm not getting to either of them.
Yeah, this is a weird one because I actually think that Nelson makes a lot of sense. The problem is the strikeouts are just so low in general for him that you are facing a higher strikeout team. So I think it's worth maybe taking a shot there where Richardson has probably higher strikeout, but more risk upside against a powerful, at least what I think is a more powerful offense or powerful enough offense. Yeah. And they're all sort of similar to me. I like the Stone the best of anybody we've talked about, but Woods, Richardson, Elder, similar. Nelson as a spend down, I think makes some sense. Nothing to feel too great about in that sense, but are you interested in the hitting at all? Because I'm trying to decide if I would. I think that Minnesota would be the side I would lean towards if I had to pick.
No, I get me some Arizona though when I'm running my stuff, so I get a little more of that.
Interesting. Okay. And I think that these for what it's worth on a smaller slate, that Arizona's not looking like they're going to be particularly owned. So I kind of like that. I like the idea of getting just the low ownership stuff on this slate. So I'll put I'm going to throw both sides of this game into my consideration. All right. And then we get the San Francisco game. Let me just double check how cold it is. Yep, still under 60, as it is every night. Man, it's tough, man, in San Francisco. Imagine if Barry Bonds had played in Yankee Stadium. He might have hit like 100 home runs. So, all right. So I think we don't for sure. I think it's supposed to be Wisniewski and Birdsong, but I'm seeing SaberSim certainly doesn't seem to know who's pitching. So I'm not sure what's happening with the Wisniewski thing. And yeah, so I really don't know.
It's a pass, and this whole slate sucks. I mean, like
it does. I'm just trying to find something interesting here.
Yeah, I mean, it's Stone for me, and then the Yankee game, if it plays, I'll even play the Mets side for some leverage against Gill if I had to, I'm looking at some of my runs here, like Arizona, Yankees, getting all this Yankee stuff. And God forbid the Yankee game gets shut out, rained out early. I don't know what this is all going to turn into, but it's let me see what after running the Sims, even if the lottery looks any different here. Yankees, just all of this, Dodgers, Yankees, Dodgers, some White Sox, but I don't know. It's not the greatest. And there's a couple of Twins, getting a couple of Twins in there for you, but it's basically Yankees and Dodgers. So if that Yankee game rains out or even threatens a rain out, that could be some trouble.
Yeah, and I want to throw out in this game that Birdsong is he's one of their top prospects. He was a monster. He had 2 bad starts at AAA, but he was a monster before that at AA. He's only 22 years old. I think he's got upside here, and I think that he might be a guy you consider. So like between, Birds, it's like, do you want the devil you know or the devil you don't know? Birdsong is going to be a very good pitcher based on everything that people say about him. And I think that's a reasonable SP2, especially taking the fact, just the location of where he's pitching, if nothing else, and the fact that we're not expecting to have to outduel somebody with a massive score. There's nobody here on this slate. Like, look, I'm looking at the K props. It's the highest one is 5.9. That's Luis Gil, then Manaea, and then everybody's under 4, under 5. I mean, so I like the idea of maybe taking a gamble with a Birdsong who they've never seen before. It's going to be my SP2. It's going to be Gavin Stone for me, but I like Gil if I could get him in. I don't think I can with the Dodgers and Yankees, but Gil in the spend up, Stone in the mid range, and then the lower tier / mid range. Well, deciding between Elder and Birdsong.
Well, I can add this as a sort of trivia question. It's not a trivia question because people just look it up if they're on TrueDFS. But if you had to guess who my top value, just the way I rate them by pitch in FanDuel pitching, who would it be? And the answer is it's not Luis Gil.
Okay, let me see.
Who would people think? You think?
All right, so let's see. So the FanDuel's only a 5-game slate. So the top pitching for you on FanDuel, is it going to be Manaea?
No, Manaea is second.
Is it Birds? Oh, it's Birdsong.
It is Birdsong.
Yeah.
He's 55.
Yeah, 5,500 over there. Oof. Yeah, I would take that gamble.
You don't even need the quality stuff. You know what I mean? Like 5,500, I don't need anything.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And by the way, he might actually end up with the highest score. Like, who knows what the hell these guys are going to do today?
Yeah.
But I think if you can get to Gil easily, I think that makes the most sense. And I think if you can get, assuming the weather is okay, I think he and Stone would be the natural like cash game guys I think you'd want to use. I do think the Dodgers, Yankees, and then maybe some pieces of Minnesota, Arizona would be my next thing. I just think that the ownership for I will see what it looks like later, but the ownership for Toronto, Boston, I expect to be really high if the game plays. And trying to fade it may not be the greatest idea, but on this slate, I think I'm willing to give it a shot because I do like the Dodgers and Yankees enough. But it feels like every night somebody gets there from that game.
If you guys want, here, let's do this now. While we're here, let's run a FanDuel SaberSim build live and see what we get, because I haven't done it yet. And I want to see what it looks like. I want to see if I actually would get the Birdsong. Like as far as just raw projections and point per dollar stuff, I would get them. I wonder if I actually would get them. I think so. I think I'm going to end up with like with like Dodger Yankees, you know what I mean? 4-4s because you can spend however much you want.
Yeah,
With the bird song. That's kind of what I'm guessing here.
I like that.
I'm curious to see. So
Yeah, let me see what else. Let me see if I have any other prediction of what you'll get. I think you're going to end up with getting a lot of Gil too.
You think? Yeah, just because you can always afford to get to guys on DraftKings on FanDuel.
Yeah, I think so. That would be a yes.
And remember, we gotta watch that weather later, but we'll be around to double check.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we do anything else, before we even sim this, let's take a look. And we'd be getting first of all, is pitching wise, we'd be getting 50% Gil and 30% Birdsong. Okay. So you're right. I mean, Birdsong, but then also Gil, and then all the Yankees, Minnesota. Wow, and very little Dodgers. So once again, it's back to the Yankees here. As far as
I agree.
Now let just show you guys again how to do this. Contest sim. I got to download the Slate from FanDuel. You don't have to do it this way, but this is the way I do it. And then this way I can get to here a little bit easier. I did PGA. Shoot. Well, why is it picking up my PGA lineups? That's pretty interesting. Oh, right, because I didn't enter. Wait, hold on.
Reserved.
Why do I not have? Oh, did I not save anything? Oh, that's right, because I wasn't playing baseball today on FanDuel because the contests were poor. So what you could do, all right, if you don't have it pre-saved, you can add the contest sim from here and call it, say, MME, and it'll have the flagship MME settings already. So let's take a look and see what we would get in the lottery after running the sims. See if it makes any difference. One thing I also like to say, by the way, about the early slate, for those of you who were here for this, I'm leaving money on the table like throughout my lineups. And you should be able to. You know, if you think Arrighetti's like so freaking great, you know, whatever, then you should be able to leave money on the table rather easily.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just see here. And for those of you around, we're gonna in like 7 minutes, we're gonna do golf.
Yep.
And then I'm doing MMA. I'm doing MMA actually with another guy. I'll post the link to that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I want to check that out.
All right, let's see. MMA, risk-adjusted ROI. See what it would get. And, more Mets actually on FanDuel after you run the Sims. So that's actually pretty interesting. They really want to go after the Gil a little bit here.
Interesting. Yeah.
So those are that's what I have as of now. We'll be back at around 6 to go over late changes and all that stuff. And anything else?
No, just keep an eye out for lineups because I think we're going to end up with more value than we currently have on the slate for the evening.